Welcome to College Town Talk. I'm Jonathan Frank.
And I'm Shan Stout.
Shan, it's official. We have a woman president.
Jonathan, I'm not sure where you've been getting your news, but the election is still nearly 2 months away.
No, here at Tennessee Tech, Kelsey Hewitt is our 2024 to 2025 student body president, and she's on the show today.
Well, that makes sense. Okay, I can't wait to talk with her. And I guess it's a good day for politics on our program because State Senator Paul Bailey is also going to be with us. He attended Tennessee Tech as a student, and he represents, of course, a six-county territory in the state legislature, including us right here in Cookeville.
Well, in that case, let's start the interviews.
I thought you'd never ask. Up first, it's our conversation with Tennessee Tech SGA President Kelsey Hewitt. Our next guest's name is Kelsey Hewitt, but you can just call her Madam President. Earlier this year, Kelsey was voted unanimously as Tech's 2024-25 Student Government Association President, and it is not hard to see why, and we want you to meet her today. Kelsey is a Signal Mountain native, double majoring in French and teaching English as a second language. Wow. She's also a tech trailblazer. And then those are the student leaders who give personalized campus tours throughout the year to prospective students and their families. And as a mom of a tech graduate, I appreciate that job and that role and how thorough you have to be about everything, because I know I have all the questions. And you could just basically say she's très impressionnante. That's French for very impressive, or Southern French. Kelsey, welcome to College Town Talk today.
Thank you so much, Shan. I really look forward to this opportunity.
Now, we're happy to talk with you, but first, I want to start by asking you about your road to becoming Tech's SGA president. Now, we've spoken to a few SGA presidents throughout our podcast, and it's always great to hear the diversity of their stories. But I understand that you've been involved in student government since the 8th grade. So apparently it's in your blood. But what made you decide to run for the top job here at Tennessee Tech?
Well, that's a great question. I did join in my high school, back in middle school and high school. It is a joint school. So I was able to kind of collaborate with the high school students when I did join in 8th grade. And then that kind of led my passion for advocating for students there on out. And I have always loved being in the room of creating events and having to raise student issues to either the faculty or the administration, or just to other peers who might not be aware of the issues that other students are experiencing. And when I came to Tennessee Tech, I felt that I had the background to fuel this change here at Tennessee Tech. And I have always dreamt of becoming the student body president. When I came here, I did start in the first year assembly. And that is our group of first year students who are either transfers or freshmen that get to learn about professionalism skills, leadership skills, and just internal SGA skills as well. And then I became the advisor of the first year assembly my sophomore year, where I kind of advised and kind of lesson planned and directed that first year assembly. And then now I have the opportunity to be the student body president and get to oversee all these different committees and be in different rooms and meet with different faculty and administration to get things going on campus.
Well, Kelsey, one of the parts about your platform as SGA president that I think is really cool and really commendable is focusing on voter registration and civic engagement. And you and I talked about this earlier this year. You've been very intentional about wanting to use your platform to encourage your fellow students to vote in local, state, and federal elections, and to understand early voting, absentee voting, all the pieces that go into being an engaged citizen and making your voice heard, and doing this in a really unbiased way. I know that's been important to you. So why is that something you wanted to focus on?
Well, I know that most people are aware that it is an election year, and so that is a big reason why I wanted to focus on it. But yes, you're very right. I do want to remain unbiased in this way. I more so want to highlight the benefits of voting and just different ways that students can get involved, whether that is applying for an absentee ballot or just seeing with a QR code if you are registered to vote. All of those are really great methods that the student government can help students on campus just really get involved with their civic engagement and voter registration. And it's not the place of the SGA to tell you either way to vote, but it is our passion to ensure that you understand that it is your right and it is something that every single United States citizen has the right to do.
Kelsey, I just see a future in politics for you. You speak like a public official already. I appreciate the maturity of that answer because there's so many college students that aren't really thinking about adulting in that world for our government. And it is very, very important that everyone has a voice. Now, Kelsey, you know that I'm the director of tourism for the Visitors Bureau here in Cookeville. And I love reading your words about why you love Cookeville in the press release that Tech published about you earlier this year. So for our listeners who may be prospective students or parents of prospective students, what would you tell them about our city that makes it so great?
Well, every time that I have a prospective student come on a tour, I really try to convey that Tennessee Tech and the Cookeville community has really become my home away from home. I know that that's very cliche to say, but I really do believe that every single organization in the community and all of the local restaurants and the boutiques, all of them really portray their tech pride in every single thing that they do. And I think that that goes a long way in making sure that Cookeville feels like home for all of these new students coming in. I know that it was really comforting to my parents to know that you could come into the community and go to different events that were partnered with Tennessee Tech and Cookeville in one. And I think that's something very unique to this college town, that you really can get involved with things that are off campus, but also partnering with every single student on campus as well.
Kelsey, I know students in their junior and senior years get asked about future plans all the time, but we'll ask you just this once on the podcast, and then you can play this clip for anyone who asks you after that. So when you graduate from Tennessee Tech, what do you think the future looks like for you?
So, like you said, this is a very big question for juniors and seniors. And while I might not be 100% confident, I do really look forward to pursuing my major in French as well as teaching English as a second language. I have always been called to be an educator and be in different rooms, encouraging students to be every single thing that they want to be. And I really have felt so loved by all of my educators all the way up, and even my advisors now here in either the SGA or my classes on the college campus as well. I was really happy to know that it didn't just stop after I graduated high school. And specifically with teaching English as a second language, I hope to partner with these students who might feel like a minority in different rooms or might not be the center of attention in your stereotypical classroom. And I can see myself traveling around, potentially working with the international baccalaureate programs that I graduated with in high school. It was really impactful, and I fully believe that it shaped who I am today. And I would like to use my linguistic skills to help those students, make them feel more seen and heard and understood, while also teaching them just the English language and making sure that they can be as involved in their environment as possible and make them feel comforted and heard and seen.
Kelsey, I so appreciate you sharing part of your journey with us today. We do have that in common, that when I was in school, I was teaching exchange students English, and their frustration when they got there versus a year later, and you're empowering them to be a part of social groups and participate, because there's nothing like going to a foreign country where you do not speak the language. And, we have technology now where you can pull up apps on your phone to try to translate, but it is still not the same as using your voice to try to communicate with someone. And so, it's really a gift that you're giving these students. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate that you care about them and making their life better. Now, Kelsey, as you know, in the podcast, we like to end each interview with the same question. So here we go. What is one way that Tennessee Tech has impacted your life?
As I kind of mentioned in my previous question, my previous statement, I do really want every student to feel heard and seen and understood. And that is one thing that I deeply have felt here at Tennessee Tech. It has been so meaningful to me to be able to come in as a freshman and have my core classes of my major get to experienced those in my first year. I know that a lot of colleges, start you off with the gen eds, but I really love that Tennessee Tech can integrate your major specific classes within your freshman year and within your gen eds. I think that that really went a long way with me feeling empowered in my major and making sure that that is something that I've wanted to do from every step of the way. I know that it can be really taxing if you feel like you need to change your major or you don't feel like that's what you want to do with your career anymore, but it's just something that I have always been so warm welcomed by the College of Education, the College of Foreign Languages. Kind of along with that, it's just the community of friends that I've built here too. And I know that that's something unique to every single student, but beyond the academic life, I have really flourished in the student life here at Tennessee Tech. And I think that's another big motivator as to why I want to be the student body president, and also how I can be in all these different rooms and showcase these events and make sure that students are having just the best time at Tennessee Tech. I really look forward to that with every single new student and current student.
Kelsey, thank you so much for being our guest today on College Town Talk.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And for our listeners, learn more about Tech's Student Government Association at tntech.edu/SGA. Welcome back to College Town Talk. We are now joined by the state senator for Tennessee's College Town and a proud supporter of Tennessee Tech, State Senator Paul Bailey. Senator Bailey attended Tech as a student and was a senior when his father persuaded him to join a new trucking business, which we know today as Charles Bailey Trucking. He has served in the state Senate since 2014, and his district includes Cumberland, Jackson, Smith, Van Buren, and White counties, and of course, all of us right here in Putnam County. At the state legislature, Senator Bailey serves as chair of the Commerce and Labor Committee and as a member of the Fiscal Review and Transportation and Safety Committees. Senator Bailey, welcome to College Town Talk.
Well, thank you. I'm very appreciative of you having me today.
Senator Bailey, we're so glad that you're here. As we said in the introduction, you've been a friend to Tennessee Tech in the state legislature, and one of the ways you've done that is through an op-ed that you co-authored with President Oldham and the Tennessean last year about the university's Rural Reimagined Grand Challenge. And for our listeners that don't know, Rural Reimagined, led here at Tech by Dr. Michael Akins and Andrea Kruska, provides no-cost tourism projects, branding assets, economic impact studies, and other supports to businesses and communities in the state's rural, distressed, and at-risk counties, including here in the Upper Cumberland. And you've also championed funding for Rural Reimagined, including, I know, the past couple of years, there's been a $1 million allocation in the state budget for Rural Reimagined that you have supported and voted for, and that is very much appreciated. Why has this project been so important to you?
Well, I think the definition that you gave and the explanation you gave about Rural Imagined is everything, from helping these small distressed communities with tourism, helping their small businesses with resources from Tennessee Tech that they would not otherwise be able to have, ranging from healthcare facilities to small businesses, and then also helping revitalize the downtown area of some small towns. So I think it has been a huge impact. We've seen it just locally right here in the Upper Cumberland. I know this has been basically throughout the entire state. Tennessee Tech has offered these programs. They've been taken advantage of, and most all of our distressed counties as well as our other rural counties. So it was something that I was very happy to help work with, and was very appreciative of Dr. Oldham asking me to write the op-ed with him.
Well, Senator, I have had my hands in multiple projects with the Rural Reimagined and seen the impact it's had on not only several small businesses, but our Upper Cumberland Tourism Association as a whole took advantage of some needs that they had no funding for when it came to branding and maps and things like that. It really can give that extra boost. When you're talking, even for a small business, a $500 marketing project is sometimes out of their grasp when they're paying employees and they're paying rent and they have overhead and merchandise. So being able to give them that boost and work with them really breathes new life into them, kind of keeps them going. And so it has been important on multiple levels, but even just emotional support to that business, knowing that they have a resource that can help them and is not trying to sell them something. It has been great. And the Visitors Bureau as well. You know, we've worked with them, and we needed particular maps or particular graphics that we didn't have access to, and they were able to find them for us. It's just been a wonderful project that you don't see across a lot of other regions. So it is really reimagined. But let's talk about you for a moment. You served Tennessee in the state Senate for a decade now, and the last race that you won, you captured 100% of the vote. Now, that's not a bad margin. That's
No.
very rare. But some of your listeners may not know that when you first ran for office, you ran unsuccessfully in 2002. And that's a hard hit. You know, my grandfather was in politics his entire career. And when there was a loss involved, it affects you and the whole family. So, but we got to thinking that there might be some lessons there for tech students about getting back on that horse and trying again when you fall off, because that didn't work out for you the first time, but you are wildly successful now. So obviously it worked out for you in the end, but something had to be that decision that 12 years later, you decided, you know what, let's get back on that horse and let's try again. What was your deciding factor there? What was that change? Because some people, you know, you fail once and you say, I'm not going to do it again. But we all know that failure is not a real thing. It's just, you know, you keep trying. And
Sure.
I'm just curious, what ran through your mind? What was that deciding moment for you?
Well, at the time in 2002, when I lost, like a lot of people that feel like that their road has come to an end, you know, it took a few weeks to overcome the feeling of failure, of losing, because you have so many people that work in a campaign and they believe in you, and so it's not necessarily just the feeling of failure for yourself, but I felt more of a failure to those that had worked so hard in my campaign. But then you realize there's always a blessing and a lesson to be learned if you do fail, and so you just have to ultimately grab your bootstraps, pull the boots back on, get back out, and start working towards a goal that you have. You know, being on running for the state Senate was the first time that I'd ever run for a political office. And so I started on a huge scale. So in 2010, I ran for the White County Commission. I was successful being elected to the White County Commission, which, you know, again, gave me some insight into exactly how local government worked, which I have used that parlayed into state government. But I would say, and I tell my son who plays college football, that do not let one single failure define you or keep you from ever pushing forward. Actually, what it should do is cause you to want to work even harder to reach that goal. Look at what you didn't do that maybe could have helped you win, but at the same time, learning from those mistakes and carrying them into a future endeavor, whether it be politics or whether it be a job promotion or whatever you're looking at. But don't ever let failure, or don't ever let anyone keep you from trying to push forward into your goals. If you have a dream and you have a goal, then you need to reach for that. And don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't reach for that goal.
That's amazing advice.
Look, I have, and I have to tell myself that repeatedly, you know, because, you know, even though that I'm currently a state senator, I mean, you know, we still have goals and what we want to do and aspirations. But, and sometimes, you know, even though I've won political races now, there's still upsets even serving as a state senator. Legislation, there's legislation that I carry for my community in my district, and sometimes I'm not able to get passed in the legislature. And I feel like, again, I can feel like a failure because I've let my constituents down, but maybe it wasn't the right timing. And I come back the following year and we're able to move the legislation forward. So it's not just about running for a political office, but it's multiple things. Just don't ever let failure or let anyone tell you that you cannot move forward.
Well, you mentioned goals for the future, and that's a great segue because I am curious to ask about the future. Your state Senate seat is up for reelection in 2026. There's also congressional and a gubernatorial election that year. So we love it when people make news on this show. Do you plan to run for reelection to the state Senate, or do you have maybe plans to consider a different office?
Well, let me say this. I love serving as a state senator. That was something that from, the time that I was in high school, and then of course started a business, and ultimately, that's the reason why I ran in 2002. I just wanted to serve in a capacity, and state senate was something that I aspired to be in. And it's certainly you have to think about this. There's 7 million people in Tennessee, but there's only 33 state senators. So, it's certainly something to be proud of if you can be one of those 33. Yes, I plan on running again for the state senate in 2026. Yes, there is another goal that I have in mind as far as serving in the state senate. Uh, one day there will be a new lieutenant governor, and that's chosen by the senators. And so, he's the lieutenant governor as well as the speaker of the Senate. And so, I'd love to serve in that capacity.
He made some news, Shan. This is a big that's really interesting. That's
Breaking news. Jonathan, you are huge into politics trivia. You're a government trivia buff. You always are wanting to know behind the scenes what's going on. So this is your moment to shine.
yeah, we got some great intel.
Yeah, well, we had a lieutenant governor from Cookeville, Lieutenant Governor Maddox, who is retired Judge Maddox's father. And so, it would be wonderful to have another lieutenant governor, speaker of the Senate from the Upper Cumberland. Look, I've got a lot of work. Currently, we have Governor McNally is just awesome. He has been a mentor to me, and would never consider anyone else serving in his capacity. But when he decides to retire and step aside, yes, I would love to be able to offer myself to the Senate, and if they choose to let me lead, then gosh, I'd be honored.
Now, you know that on this podcast, we love to promote Cookeville and all the Upper Cumberland region and the quality of life that we're able to provide for students, to be able to give parents that comfort to know that their kids are coming to not only learn at a great university, but be able to have all the natural assets, a safe historic downtown, so many things to do. And it's just a good Southern community. But we know that rising tide, it lifts all boats. So you live just down the road in Sparta, which we adore Sparta. White County is a wonderful part of our platform that we promote here at the Visitors Bureau. And you represent a 6-county territory with so many great natural attractions and the same thing, charming downtown. So give us your best District 15 sales pitch.
Well, number one, we have all the natural beauty that anyone could aspire to see. We have beautiful lakes. We have beautiful state parks. We in the rural areas, you can see beautiful rolling farmland. We have the mountains. We have beautiful waterfalls. So we just have such natural beauty that anyone traveling into this area would just would be in awe at seeing if you're not from this area. And even by a native of Tennessee, even whenever I look around from time to time and just see our natural beauty, it's just awe-inspiring. We also have a great highway system. I mean, right here in the 15th Senate District, we have a great highway system which allows you to be able to go in and visit our state parks and our lakes and so forth. And then we have a lot of amenities, just thinking of Cookeville and the amenities that we have with the restaurants and the shopping. So, just get 15 minutes away from all those amenities, you can be at a wonderful state park. And again, the quality of life that you can experience by being here. And then if you want to retire and move here, that's wonderful. But if you're wanting to either graduate from college and seek a job, there's so many job opportunities from engineering jobs all the way to HVAC and electrical workers. I mean, we need individuals to be able to fill these jobs. And we have a low tax state. So it's just a great place for you to live and raise a family.
Well, Senator Bailey, if this political career thing doesn't pan you've always got a job in tourism with me. So you just give me a call if you ever.
Well, thank you. I may have to take you up on that.
Well, Senator, I'm sure you see the news headlines that just seem to pop up from time to time about voters kind of general fatigue with politics, distrust of some of those in government. I read that a Pew Research Center finds that 72% of Americans say the U.S. used to be a good example of democracy, but isn't anymore. Here in Tennessee, there was polling last year from the Beacon Center suggesting that voters' approval with the state legislature overall was underwater. But of course, that's asking people to take a position on 130 some odd people, the entire General Assembly. But we asked a similar question to Representative Ryan Williams when he was on our podcast. And I wanted to ask you as well, what do you say to those who say, there's just too much fighting in politics and too little fixing?
Unfortunately, that is spilled over from the national level into the state. Number one, I think we have to take a step back, and everyone has to do this. It just can't be Democrats, it can't be Republicans. Everyone just has to take a step back. We have to start respecting one another as human beings. And although my policies may not line up with your policy beliefs, I have to respect your policy beliefs in the same way that you respect mine. And we have to work to come to a compromise that's best for all Tennesseans and all the public. And we just can't get so embedded in our own beliefs that we shut out the other side. And so politics was designed to with that in mind. I mean, our forefathers knew that there needed to be heavy debate. There was a lot of debate over our Constitution and the writing of our Constitution and the forming of our nation. They debated and they argued, but they came up with one of the most unbelievable government systems that the world has ever seen. And so, yes, we can have those very heated discussions and arguments, but at the same time, I have to respect my other colleagues and for their positions, and I ask them to respect mine. But at the end of the day, we still have to come together. We have to govern, and we have to do what's best for the state of Tennessee.
Well, you have my great respect there. I mean, sometimes my family can't decide on 3 pizza toppings for one pizza, so I can only imagine the daily challenges that our government systems face. Now, finally, Senator, we like to end each interview on this podcast with the exact same question. What is one way that Tennessee Tech has impacted your life?
Well, my wife is a graduate of Tennessee Tech, and we have several employees that work for us within the trucking business that have been graduates of Tennessee Tech. So, just having those graduates that were alumni coming out of Tennessee Tech has been huge. Then the resources that I've been able to take advantage of, we started the segment off talking about Reimagined, and some of the resources that I've been able to tap into with Tennessee Tech, just with my business alone, has definitely helped. But I think we sometimes forget the economic impact that Tennessee Tech has on the Upper Cumberland region. And I think that's huge from the students that travel in and live here for 4 years as they go to school, to those that work, whether you're a professor or whether you're a maintenance staff worker. It's a huge economic engine for the Upper Cumberland, and I think that we sometimes fail to recognize that. And then companies move here providing high quality jobs, high paying jobs, because they have a readily available workforce coming out of Tennessee Tech to fill those jobs. So we've seen a lot of companies move here because they know that they can have a good quality workforce that's graduating from Tennessee Tech. So I think as we move forward, we have to continue to make sure that Tennessee Tech has the funding that it needs to meet the demands of the manufacturers and the jobs that are being created here, to turn out good workers, as well as the resources, just like the Reimagined, where they're thinking outside the box. They're thinking about going into these rural communities. They're thinking about how that they can take that tide and lift those boats, I think you referred to earlier. And so Tennessee Tech is just such a it's such a jewel that we have, and I am just so proud to be able to represent a district that Tennessee Tech is just right in the middle of.
Senator Bailey, thank you so much for being our guest today on College Town Talk.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And I appreciate it. And I look forward to the next time.
We want to thank Kelsey Hewitt and State Senator Paul Bailey for being our guests today on College Town Talk.
We sure do. And thanks to all of you for listening each week. You can catch up on every past episode of this show, all 32 of them, at tntech.edu/collegetowntalk. There's also an email link where you can send us your ideas and feedback. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. It all helps spread the word about the great things happening right here in Cookeville.
And we'll meet you back right here again next week for more conversations with the people who make Cookeville Tennessee's college town.
College Town Talk is presented by Tennessee Tech University in partnership with the Cookeville-Putnam County Visitors Bureau. Your hosts are Jonathan Frank and Shan Stout, and original music is performed by Andrew Buckner. Visit us online at tntech.edu/collegetowntalk.